What's up, what's up, what's up, everybody? It's that time of the day, that time of the week, that time of the month.
Yes, it is.
I always love when I say that.
Brand new month, baby.
You know damn well people shudder a little bit when I say that.
Yep.
What's that? I'm Big Papa.
And I'm Jeff.
You listen to the good,
The band.
and the ugly. Look at that.
Look at that.
It's
Almost
a new
like,
year. It's a new season.
I know.
Even though we just had Jeff Gordon on
That's okay.
last week. I hope that everybody realizes we recorded that.
I know.
We've been on a 3-week hiatus.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's okay.
Dude.
Sometimes a break is needed.
Yeah, I couldn't stand your coffee breath anymore.
I know.
I just needed to
Bring it on.
So things are, yeah. You want to go there?
No.
You want to go there?
Wait, no.
Yeah, all right. You remember what happened last time.
I do.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Don't eat grilled cheese right before a show.
Right.
So how you guys doing? We are really excited. We have another local, previously local celebrity with us today.
Yeah.
This gentleman has done all kinds of great stuff in music. He's gone into not only playing, but been a great journalist. He reps some great instruments.
Yes.
So we're gonna let him tell you all about that. But let's give a good band and the ugly welcome to Mr. Rich Mangicaro. Or Caro. Is it Caro?
Hey, guys.
Is
Hey,
it
Rich.
Mangicaro or Mangicaro?
You know, it depends on what part of my family you ask.
Ha! I like that.
Growing up, it was Mangicaro, but in Italy, it's pronounced Mangicaro.
See.
Okay.
Yeah, but my sister still say Mangicaro, actually.
Well, they can't go to Italy.
Right.
What does my cousin John say? Mangicaro or Mangicaro?
I don't know.
Eh,
Probably
Well.
Mangicaro.
because his sister says Mangicaro.
Right.
So it's so funny. It just depends on how they pronounce it in the family.
What part of Italy is your family from?
My dad was born in Calabria. He was born in Reggio Calabria, a
nice.
little village in the mountains there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not too far. I'm part Calabrese.
Okay.
Calabrese and Sicilian. So my other side of my family came from Syracuse, Sicily. So that was a real big stretch.
Have you been there?
I have not.
I'm going this year. I can't wait. I've never been.
He's going
so
with
I-
you.
Yeah,
don't know if
you
you
didn't
knew
know
that.
that, right? Oh, see, that was part of the second guest of the year
Right.
contract.
Honoree.
Yeah. It's either meet up at NAM
Or
take me to
take
Italy.
me to Italy.
Yeah.
Screwed that one up.
Wait, which one costs more?
They're about the same.
They really
know?
are.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. So we know you're from Syracuse. Our listeners,
We
don't.
do. They
We
don't.
do. They don't.
Okay.
Originally from East Syracuse, and
Right.
then went to school at JD
Right.
back in the 45, 46.
Wow.
Not that old.
This
Don't
has
rush
been
me.
the shortest interview ever. Rich, it was great to meet you.
See now he everything else is just
Yeah, it is
it's
too.
gravy.
Yep.
Now he's like, no,
No.
dick. You dick. It was in the 70s. So you went there and tell us a little bit about your history with Syracuse and music.
Back, I was my parents moved from East Syracuse when I was like, freshman in high school, and we ended up like going to DeWitt. I ended up finishing high school last 3 years at JD, so that's where I went to high school. But I was playing in bands when I was a kid. Back when I was really young, there was a band I put together when I was like 16 or 17. It was kind of right when the TV show Happy Days aired, and it was called Big Rocky and the Rollers. It was a greaser band that I had.
Nice.
So,
Cool.
back then, we actually had a little single that we recorded and we played in, school dances and shit like that, And then jump ahead to a few years later, I ended up in a band actually with a couple other guys from Syracuse called Strombecker Lighthouse. And I think Dave Rezick was our manager. I'm trying to remember, but
There's a name we haven't heard in a little while.
DMR, is that what it was called?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, he managed us.
No
But
kidding.
this is
Oh, wow.
not that long lasting, but I was in the first rendition of that band, and then I left and some other guys came in and did it. But there was a bass player named Paul Rush who's still in Syracuse.
Mhm.
Um, But and then I just went to college. I went to OCC, my first, a couple of years of music school, and then I went to Syracuse University for 2 years of music school for music performance. And I never really finished it because I ended up getting an offer to go on the road, and I went on the road for 5 years, and I ended up going back to college to finish in the 80s.
You can, if you're in a musical path, you know what? I don't even want to just say music. I'm going to say broadcasting.
Oh, yeah.
Anything to do with entertainment. Once you get, if you get a break, then you're like, why am I going to do this anymore?
Right.
I'm doing it. I left college early to go because I got hired by NTQ, and I was like, well, 93Q hired me. They're they're 100,000 watt station. What do I need to keep doing this for? Because and then and we had some people as like Jason Bittner from Overkill, drummer for Overkill
and Shadows Fall.
And I'm sure he's been in drumming magazines and.
Yep.
3-time Grammy nomination.
Yes.
He left Juilliard. No, Berkeley.
Yeah.
He said it wasn't for him, though.
Was it Berkeley? It was Berkeley.
I think it was.
Yeah, he left Berkeley because he was like, first year was like, okay. Second year was like, I got called up to the big leagues.
Yeah.
So I think it's not uncommon.
So Rich, who did you go on the road with for 5 years?
It was cover bands. It was like hotel circuit, bullshit.
Gotcha.
Was that through Dave Narsnick or
no? That was another. Actually, the first thing was a singer. His name was Dave Julian, I think. He was like a lounge singer kind of guy, and I was the drummer for him. And then his band ended up like saying we don't like him anymore. So we ended up forming our own thing and went out and did our own stuff.
Right.
And we played all over the place. So it was just that kind of thing until I kind of did that right up until I moved to California. So
back then it was the band owns a community van, playing gig to gig, booking your own shit, handling your own money, praying the PA's going to be okay.
My God, it's the Blues Brothers.
No, it's like everything. Dude, let me tell you something though. That you could do it back then, and make a living doing it.
Right.
It was you busted your asses.
You did.
But the hotel circuit was not a bad gig.
No.
And I know Dave. That's what Dave's claim to fame. He did a lot of that up and down the Thruway. And my uncle was he was with Dave with Ivory, and they went. Joey DeFeo played keyboards, and I forget Terry's last name was bass, and but they went up and down. They played as much as they really wanted. I think they played 3-4 nights a week.
We were playing all the time. I mean, almost 5 years of just pretty busy, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that was. We could do a whole show on just
up and down the Thruway circuit,
just the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we just we were East Coast out to Michigan and back. That's basically where we were, but it got tiring after a while.
God, I'm sure. I imagine. So you do that gig for a while, and then what brought you back off the road to find some other venue, or did you go from that to somebody hearing you and saying, "Hey, come on over to do this"?
No, actually, from there I ended up just saying I'm moving. I'm going to move to California.
Mm-hmm.
I had family out in California, so in 1982 I moved here, and I was out here for a couple of years, just kind of doing odd jobs and playing in rock bands. No notable rock bands, just rock cover band shit. I did that for 2 years out here, and then working odd jobs. And then I kind of had this bug to go back and get my music degree and finish it. So I ended up going back in 85 and ended up going to Potsdam to Crane School of Music and finished my performance degree there.
Oh, nice.
With Jim Peterzak.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, so going back then in 85, you had your head on a little bit on straighter than most of the younger kids that were there because you were a little older. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know my sister was supposed to go there in 89. and she auditioned and she got in, and she was a percussionist.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give my sister kudos.
Yeah.
So she got in.
There's her first.
She went through. Well, let me tell you something. She's a hell of a musician, that kid.
Right.
So she studied with Peter Zach?
No, I'm going to tell you.
Oh.
She does her audition. She gets done. My parents are in the waiting room, and he says, "Young lady, that was one of the best female auditions I've ever heard."
Oops.
And she goes, "Excuse me?" He says, "One of the best female percussion auditions I've ever heard." She says, "Thank you so much, but I don't think I'll be going here."
Wow.
And he goes, "Why not?" And she'd been talking about going to Crane for years.
Okay.
That's where she was going to go. And he said, why? She said, "If you didn't say one of the best percussionists and you labeled me that I would get in because I'm a woman or that it was you put me in a separate category, there's no category when sticks are in your hand. It's just pieces of wood on a skin." So
Good for her.
she turned around and left there, and
Nice.
she ended up going to Mansfield for music ed, and she came out a teacher. But I used to come home. I prided myself. When you're a drummer, back then I rehearsed every day. Every day. The band rehearsed almost every day, and my chops were just banging,
Yeah.
Not what they could be today, because it's like, meh.
Yeah.
But I'd go home, and I'd hear her upstairs playing like one of Rick Latham's rudiment, things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, she must be following the tape right now, because the tape is crushing it. And I opened the door, and it's her. She's just, I was like, holy shit. Wow. I said, I thought it was the tape. She's like, I go, why don't you go downstairs and jump on the drum kit? Nope. Never had even the desire to get on a drum kit. She could play she played any of the percussion instruments. She played the marimba, the xylophone, we had a vibraphone. We had everything at home because the school she was so good at it. She sent everything home with her.
Right.
She's still teaching?
No. She went on and she was teaching for a while, and then she was, after you have to have your master's by a certain period in New York State. Okay. And she took a summer gig with AT&T in the corporate office downtown, and they said, "Well, you sign up with us full time, and we'll pay for your master's."
Wow.
And they did. And then she was like, "This is a lot more money than I would ever make as a teacher."
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
And she was teaching. She was running the music school, or she was running the band and everything up at Sackett's Harbor. Was one of the gigs she got. She was the band director, music director for the school district. But she was like, you know what? I think she did 4 years of dealing with parents and the music. And how come little Sally didn't get the lead chair? Because little Sally's like a 12th chair. That's why. She may play Mary Had a Little Lamb really good for you at home, but she's not that seat here. So that's where she went on. But we digress.
Yes.
But it just goes to show, I mean, going back the second time for you, that's when, you're focused.
Yeah,
and you're
I just felt like I want to finish it, and actually when Peter Zach, when I had connected with Peter Zach, because I didn't really know Jim, I studied with Ernie Muskie at Syracuse University, who used to run the percussion department at Syracuse Music School. And Michael Bull runs it now. Michael Bull and I were colleagues together then. But Ernie was also the principal percussionist for Syracuse Symphony and assistant conductor. So he was a big influence on my playing and how I play now, actually. I learned a lot from him. But when I connected with Peter Zach to go back to college to finish my degree, he said, "You got to come back and audition." And I didn't have the money to fly back twice to go audition. So he says, "Okay, we'll arrange an audition out there with Sandy Feldstein," which, do you guys know Sandy Feldstein? Did you know him?
No, I did not.
Sandy, he was the head of Alfred Publishing. Then he became the head of Warner Music, Chaplin Music. He was a big music publishing guru, basically. Okay. He's no longer with us, but Sandy at the time was running Alfred and had an office in North Hollywood. And so I actually auditioned in his office out here for my college and got in. So.
Oh, nice.
So you got in by hearsay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Good enough.
Right. Fine, kid.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yep.
Pretty much, yeah.
Thanks for the bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was great.
So you graduate from Crane.
Yeah.
You got your degree. You come out swinging. What'd you do next?
I just ended up playing in a couple of bands out here until I saw this advertisement in the paper for a job at Peisty Cymbals. And I just thought, I want to get something in the music industry that'll supplement gigging, you know?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So that was 1980, early 1987, I think it was. And in 1986, I had never been to a NAMM show. In 1986, I was working part-time for a flower company that did all the flowers at NAMM. Right. And I took the job specifically to get into NAMM. So I ended up like delivering flowers to booths the year before I got the job with Peisty. And then in 87, I got the job at Peisty as the artist relations manager. Well, actually, first it was sales. I did internal sales for a little while, but then the artist relations guy quit. And then I ended up taking over artist relations and did that for almost 20 years.
So wait a minute. At the height of LA music.
Yeah, that's right.
In 87, you've got...
Right. He's delivering flowers. Okay?
Well, no, wait a minute. No, he's the Peisty rep. So you've got bands like Motley Crue that are coming off of their own label. They're well off their own label.
By then,
but you got 87. You got Zig Zig Sputnik out there. You got
you name all those Peisty guys. I work with them personally.
LA Guns, all those guys.
I did a lot with Tommy. I did a lot with Bobby Blotzer. I did a lot with Van Halen. I did a lot with Stuart Copeland.
Oh wow!
And then I brought two Peisty. I brought Danny Carey from Tool and Josh Freese, and there's a lot of guys I signed to the Peisty. Actually, I signed Abraham Laboriel to his first endorsement when he was 17 years old. Right before he went to Berkeley, I was managing the Peisty's had a sound booth at NAMM, and we'd have bands in the booth, and I would book the bands. And one year I had Jeff Porcaro playing with his brother Mike Porcaro and Dave Garfield on keyboards, and one year I had the Tubes in there. It was fantastic. It was a heyday of the NAMM show thing, you know, with all these amazing bands, and I was right in the middle of all that and booking the bands, and like I was emceeing the shows every day. There was 3 shows a day, and one particular day Jeff Porcaro said, "Rich, listen, there's a kid I want you to meet." And it was Abraham Laboriel, and he was 16 going on 17, just about to go to Berkeley. And he just said to me, he goes, "You got to hear this kid play. He's going to be a big deal." Wow. So I signed him to his first endorsement before he went to Berkeley. And then he didn't actually stay through Berkeley. I think he left early to go out and play. I can't remember. It was long before Paul McCartney, but yeah, the 80s was the heyday. It was like
if you were going to have that job, that was the best year.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was like from 87 until, well, I stayed there for almost 20 years, but the 80s up till about late 90s, it was just off the fucking hook.
Yeah.
All the time. There were so many great shows, working with all these great bands. It was, you know, and me coming from a small town, man, it was like, you know, what is happening? You know, and it was a great experience for me because, you know, I was always a player from the get-go. That was my heart. So the job came natural to me.
Right.
Which I'm still doing to this day with Don Bops now, but I have my own kind of artist relations company now. But that back then, yeah, I mean,
because the 90s it moved north. It went up the coast.
Yeah, it went to Seattle.
The epicenter of it with all the grunge
garbage. Yeah. I'll say it.
You hate the grunge, I know, but
do.
it's all evolution.
I know it is.
You know, you went from New York, but then because of the 80s, you had an East Coast style metal that was coming out late 80s with guys like Anthrax and everything, and then you had the West Coast side with Metallica and those guys.
Yeah.
So that skater punk kind of metal from Syracuse down versus you know, and I think it was Pete Merluzzi that brings it up that said, you know, Syracuse was
close.
They were on the map.
Yeah.
We had a lot of great musicians that came out of here.
Yeah.
We had a lot of great not just musicians, but production guys and recording people, and southern part of Syracuse, guys like Carl Kennedy from the Rods, who was producing bands like Anthrax and stuff, and he was a drummer for, and he still is.
Still is.
So we've got a lot of stuff that came out of this area, and I think I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be part of it.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Me too. I don't know it anywhere near as deeply as you guys because I left so long ago, but I've been out here so long. But yeah, even back then I worked a lot with Charlie Benante from Anthrax and Dave Lombardo from Slayer, and later on the guys in Slipknot and all these great rock bands, that played Peisty. They would basically work with me to get their gear and for road or for recording.
There was only two really to count on. You're either a Zildjian guy or you're a Peisty guy, and
back then, before Sabian, right?
Yeah. And you were taking away the Zildjian guys because that was like, well, we know we're the biggest cymbal manufacturer now, so we don't really need to do anything good for you unless you're the best. And then all these up and coming guys are like, shit, I want to get endorsed,
right?
I remember I got endorsed from a stick company out of Canada that never went anywhere. They were the worst fucking drumsticks I've ever, but I had cases of them.
Because he whittled them from trees.
Dude, they were the lightest wood that would they wouldn't just crack. They would just fucking explode. And they would say, so what do you think? Do you need more? Yeah. I need a lot more. Do you need assortment of sizes? Yeah. Something that a beaver just chewed down, because these things you're sending me for the music I'm playing is not cutting it. They're just exploding.
Yeah. Got something heavier instead of like,
And I remember my
balsam wood.
I was still living at home. My mother would be like, there's an awful lot of sawdust downstairs under your drumstick. I'm like, she goes, it was never this bad before. I'm like, yeah, because these sticks suck.
Right.
I don't even remember the name of them. It didn't last long because I didn't even, I was like, I got endorsed, and then 20 days later, I'm like, I'm endorsed.
I think we should call them. We should grab it. We should find a name and call them.
Couldn't. I don't even think I have one left. They all shattered. They all exploded.
They're now toothpicks.
Great. So let's talk about.
Anyhow.
Again, man, he's so multi-leveled. It's like, all right, this show is going to be talking strictly about all your 80s, 6 through 90s shenanigans. But no, I think we let's get it all right here. But
spread out a little bit.
You've played with some great people.
Yes.
And you've toured with some great people. And let's go on. So how did that transit? Did they catch your eye, or did you meet them through Peisty, or did you?
Yeah. I mean, once I started meeting these guys and being close with a lot of these great drummers and becoming friends of mine, they realized that I played, and I was just, playing in local bands in Los Angeles. But there was one particular band that I was in back, it was like mid 90s, I guess it was. And actually there was two. There was a jazz group with Kurt Pescara. Kurt Pescara and I were in a band together called the Pescara Brothers, and it was a great jazz, kind of a not progressive jazz, more just kind of not traditionally bebop stuff, but more like just funk jazz, basically. And that was an amazing band. So I was playing with that in the 90s, and then there was another original rock band called Clear that I was in, and this band had a lot of potential. This was like kind of Dave Matthews meets REM kind of stuff. Really great writing, great playing. And that was like late, like 96, 95, 96. And it caught the eye of Scott Craigo, who Scott is the drummer for the Eagles now. He's been with the Eagles for 35 years or so.
Yes.
But at that same time, there was a band in Los Angeles that I was also playing with called Venice. Venice is a local band here that did very well in Europe. They're very well known in Europe and Holland, and have a lot of hit records out there. And Scott was the original drummer for Venice. Scott left Venice to go play with Stevie Nicks, and then got into the Eagles. And then there was another great drummer that took the place of Scott, who you guys will probably know now, that was in the band Venice, that got me into band Venice with him, and his name is Matt Logg. Do you know Matt?
Do not.
Matt Logg is the new drummer for AC/DC right now.
Yes, you're right. I did see that somewhere.
Matt, Matt was playing with Slash. Yeah. After he played with Venice, he was doing Slash. He did Alanis Morissette's first record, and Matt and I became very close friends and played a lot together.
So he's friends with Pete.
Yeah. So Matt was in Venice at the time, and they were talking about getting percussion, and Matt said, "Get Rich. He'd be perfect for us." So then we ended up doing that gig together for a while. And then this original band called Clear, Scott Crago got wind of it inside and really liked it, and ended up producing a record of ours. And at that same time period, Glenn Frey was looking for a percussionist. So Scott said, "I got the guy for you. We don't have to do any auditions." And so that's how it came.
That hack.
That's great.
That hack. Glenn Frey. Sounds like somebody at a diner.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Actually, at that time, it was Glenn Frey and Joe Walsh band. It was the two of them together. They were doing basically casinos and corporate party shows, like big, huge, multi-million-dollar corporate shows. So we were doing that and casinos, like a lot of the casinos back east and in Toronto, the casino, I forget that place up in Toronto. But we did a lot of that circuit, and that's how I got into that with Scott, who told Glenn about me, and that lasted for almost till Glenn passed away, till about 15 years.
Yeah. So. Well, Rich, what was it like working with him?
Fantastic. I mean, when you're working with someone like that, it's not like you know when to show up, you know what to do, do your job, and it's not the kind of thing where you're not the star of the show. You go do your gig, and don't make a mistake, and everything is fine.
Yeah.
But I was playing percussion and singing background vocals, and honestly, singing background with him was really one of my highlights of my entire career. It was such a trip. I mean, to be in vocal rehearsals, singing those songs with the guy who wrote it was really unbelievable, and with Joe as well.
Yeah.
Because I played a summer tour with Joe Walsh when there was a time when I was playing Glenn's band, Joe's band, and then the two of them together doing their corporate band. But with Joe, it was more public shows and festivals and stuff.
Right.
Because
what was it like working with Joe Walsh?
Joe's when I work with Joe, he's an extremely musical person who gets bored quickly, so he likes to change stuff up a lot. Okay. So we would adjust arrangements and do different things. We might not have the same set twice. I mean, we would shift things around a lot.
Yeah.
At the time that I was doing it, there was a horn section, and there was Scott on drums and me on percussion, and Mike Finnegan was playing B3, which you guys remember Mike Finnegan from Jimi Hendrix?
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. Mike was playing B3 in that band, which was a complete honor for me. I was like, man, Mike Finnegan's in this band, and Rick, the bass player from Joe's band, and it was great. And we did a lot of festivals with that band. We played a lot of, we did stuff with Sammy Hagar and a bunch of other great artists.
The Red Rocker
summer festival tour,
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was, but then, he didn't, after that year, he wanted to go back to two drummers and not have percussion. So I'm very fortunate. I feel very blessed that I got a chance to do it.
I think that's great.
Did you still keep your gig with Pasty when you were doing that? Or
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little bit tricky, but they were very gracious, and they've always been gracious with me. I'm still friends with them, even though I don't work with them. But they were very nice, and I did the job while I was on the road. So,
when you figure you're still rubbing elbows on the festivals with probably some of your artists, anyways,
right?
And I'm sure the rest of the guys that you're playing with. We're like, Jesus, is there anybody you don't know, Rich? Because everybody's like, hey, Rich, how you been?
Right. Hey, man, how are you?
You're like, holy shit. This is...
It's kind of like that. I mean, I feel very blessed. I mean, all the people that I'm friends with and know, I mean, it was a trip to do some of those festivals and have somebody open it for me. That was one of my endorsees. Like, one of them was the original drummer for Creedence Clearwater Revival. My God. Doug Clifford.
Yes.
Doug Clifford was playing with it was called Creedence Clearwater Revisited.
Yes.
And on
I remember
festival,
that.
Yes.
It was those guys and Sammy Hagar and us. And so, I got to hang out with Doug Clifford backstage, and we were both playing that day, you know, and
Yeah.
that was very surreal. And then I did another show in the Bay Area with Joe, and Greg Arico is a friend of mine now, but Greg's the original drummer for Sly and the Family Stone, and Greg had called me and said, I see you're playing at this Canoctai Harbor Festival. I want to come and see you play. And it was so incredibly surreal for me to have Greg sitting on the stage behind me while I'm playing the show with Joe, because in 1969, I went to the Syracuse War Memorial and saw Steppenwolf and Sly and the Family Stone opening for Steppenwolf.
Right.
So here's all these years later, I got to share that story with Greg, you know, with saying,
yeah,
man, I got to tell you a story. You know, that kind of stuff to me, you know, I look back on all that and I go, oh my God, I'm so incredibly fortunate. I got to know these guys and share these kind of stories. I mean, the same thing with when I worked with Carl Palmer. I worked with Carl Palmer a lot during the Peisty years. And, you know, I saw Carl Palmer play with the LP at Syracuse War Memorial. And I got to tell him, man, I saw you when I was going to college. And
yeah, I'm sure they appreciate that when you walk up and go, I've liked you since I was six. Yeah, they're like, get away from me. You're bothering me. Get away from me, kid.
Yeah.
That girl's mine. So you're playing with these guys and you're rubbing elbows with some of, you know, who you're saying is like, wow, that was the most influential. Some of the bands that you worked with as they were growing up and becoming mature, you being some of their first endorsements, those are the guys that we were like infatuated with, those bands. So, you know, to us, we're like, fuck, it's David Lee Roth or, you know, Van Halen and these guys and Tommy Lee. And to us, that's the big names. But they probably were just as impressed with you rubbing elbows with the people that were our heroes then. You know, I grew up listening to Zeppelin and Cream and Black Sabbath and Kiss and all that. And, you know, the bands that came out of the 70s that were already established by the time we were playing ourselves. So
I got a great Tommy Lee story.
A great Tommy Lee story.
Yeah, there's never we have no format.
Have at it.
Shoot, Luke, you're in the saddle.
Yes.
It's very quick, but there was a time where I was putting together a poster campaign for Peisty with Tommy. And so we sat down and he and I would brainstorm, and we had this idea of the caption of the poster idea would be Tommy Lee and Peisty, happier than a pig in shit. And we thought, can we get away with this in the United States? I don't know if we can get away with this or not, but I got together with Eric Peisty and Tommy and we discussed it and we said, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
Nice.
So we ended up going to this, we went to this farm in LA called, it was a college that had a farm area with animals, and there was this pig pen. So we got it, and we had the photographer was Robert Knight, who's a really famous rock photographer. He shot Zeppelin, you know.
Yeah.
And I had hired Robert to do the shot because Robert had worked a lot with Tommy Lee as well and with Motley Crue. So we get to this pig pen, and there's all these pigs in the pen, and we get these symbols. We got the symbols that he played, the 2002 series, and we stuck them in the pig mud and shit. And we got Tommy in the shot with the symbols and him just going, you know, and the caption was Tommy Lee and Peisty, happier than a pig in shit. And I have this picture of me and Tommy in my studio in that pig pen, him wiping pig crap on my face from the photo shoot. I have that shot framed in my studio here. But that poster and that ad campaign ran only twice in the United States.
I wonder why.
It got pulled. Because Modern Drummer was like, I think they ran it only once, actually. And they got so many complaints from parents that they pulled it. But then it ran in Europe a lot.
Right.
Okay.
So,
pussies.
Yeah, because Europe's more free form and we're kind of uppity and, you know.
Jesus, London's got the Page 5 girls.
Anyway, it was a fun. Tommy was a lot of fun.
That's cool. Well, those guys were always off the freaking hook. My God.
I know. While reading your bio, Rich, I was kind of interested. There was two people that you either worked with or knew. Was David Crosby and Jackson Browne. Mm-hmm. Both of which I love both. Mm-hmm. What was it like working with David Crosby?
I played about
That's your go-to question.
5 times with David, and that was also through the band Venice. That band Venice had sang on a lot of both David's and Jackson's stuff.
Oh, good.
The band Venice is the Lennon. Do you remember the Lennon sisters
Yes,
from
I
the
do.
Lawrence Welk show?
Yes.
The Lennon sisters' younger brothers are the guys in Venice. They're all Lennon family, and they're all ridiculously talented singers. So Venice is very well known as one of the best singers in the United States. They do a lot of records and background stuff. They're actually 4 of those guys were on the Roger Waters' Wall tour as the background singers for Roger's tour.
Very cool.
So that's who was singing for that tour. But that's the band.
Yeah.
So David considers Venice the best singers in the United States. He loves these guys. So we ended up becoming David's band a bunch of times. So I think we played 5 or 6 different shows with David, and then Jackson maybe a couple times where we were his band.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, David was extremely personable, fun person to be around, and just really fun to play with. He's just a really nice guy, and just musically brilliant. And Jackson was also just great. Jackson's a lot more serious, at least when we worked with him, and it was kind of nuts and bolts, just let's get this work done, and then after the show we could hang out a little bit. But I didn't really tour with them.
Okay.
I did those shows with them,
Yeah.
Jackson was known to work with a ton of studio musicians. I know my buddy played bass for Jackson Browne
It's
for
kinda
years.
Like Steely Dan. Steely Dan used a ton of different studio musicians.
Yeah.
Right.
Jackson Browne is, I'll tell you, you know my story with him.
I do. In fact, I saw him live, I want to say 2 years ago now, when he toured with James Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James
And that was
Taylor.
great.
Jackson Browne's
Just great.
playing Syracuse, and I'm down there to pick up Kiss tickets. Kiss is playing like the next week, and I had gotten some tickets through somebody. I don't know if there's a radio station or something. And I stick my head in. Some bands just they're loading in and they're getting ready to do sound check or something. I'm kind of peeking into the side doors where the War Memorial, the load in was. Guy's sitting out there, and he's like, "Coming to the show tonight?" I said, "No, I'm here to get Kiss tickets." He said, "Do you know who's playing tonight?" I said, "No again."
Sorry.
He said, "Did you ever hear of Jackson Browne?" I says, 3 no's in a row. Sorry, man.
Can't say as I can help you.
And he's like, the guy that's sitting there during load in, he's like, "Hey, what if I get you tickets? Would you come and see Jackson Browne tonight?" I said, "Sure." "Are they good seats?" He's like, "Yeah. You'd be like the front 3 rows." I'm like, "Cool." So he goes in, he comes out, gives me 2 tickets. He leaves. I don't think anything of it. My none of my friends. I'm like, "You ever hear of Jackson Browne?" No. "I got tickets. You want to go?" No, nobody wanted to go. I went by myself. So I'm standing there waiting for the band. I don't even know who opened up for him. I don't even know if anybody did. He comes walking out, this guy that gave me the tickets. And I'm like, "Oh, he must be setting up. He must be the roadie that's bringing the mic out or something."
Or he's introducing him or something,
But he's got a guitar on.
Sound check guy, making sure the monitors work.
The guy plays the first song with him and looks right down the front row. He goes, "What do you think?" As it's
Really?
Jackson Browne
It's
himself
actually Jackson Browne.
who gave me the tickets. And
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Just saw me
That is
milling
very
around,
cool.
like kind of poking around, like what's going on in there. And so, of
That's
course,
very cool.
I've been a fan ever since, just
Right.
because it was like, that's one of the coolest dudes I ever met. I mean, and then,
Yeah,
of course,
very, very cool.
I tell people later, and they're like, "You're an idiot." I'm like, "Yeah, I've admittedly been an idiot my whole life, But yeah,
Jackson was, when I did that gig, there was no drummer. Actually, when I did it, I was playing all the drum set parts on percussion, like a hybrid setup. It was like an unplugged show. That's what we did with him. With Crosby, it was a full percussion setup. But with Jackson, it was just me doing all the drum set parts on cajon and pedals. And there was a moment when we were rehearsing Running on Empty where they had that drum fill at the end of it, and I was like, "Oh man, where am I?"
Right.
It was so surreal. It was so cool, I was like,
Yeah.
Oh my god, I got to play that classic,
That's awesome.
simple drum group fill.
isn't it great though when you go to play with these guys and you already know their music because you've been jamming to it your whole life, and you're like, "Fuck yeah!"
Oh, it's fantastic.
I think it was
Yeah.
was
The reason I asked about David Crosby was because he actually came to Skinny Atlas once.
Yeah.
car breakdown.
No.
Oh, On purpose?
They have a dinner cruise. It's Judge Ben Wild, and I know he is a huge boat fanatic, or was a huge boat fanatic. Yeah. He actually went on that cruise and drove the boat.
Oh, okay.
And then I saw the only reason I know that is because I saw he has a documentary out called My Name is David Crosby.
Is it the boat that's there now?
Yeah.
Owned by the Sherwood?
Yes.
Those are friends.
He was the boat fanatic, huh?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to see if they even know that because they own that boat.
There's a picture of him with one of the owners, I believe.
They're probably listening to the show right now.
Sure, they are.
No, they do. They listen to the show. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's some great footage. Actually, we just finished editing from some shows we did with David. That's out on that the band Venice's site, but also on my YouTube channel now from like a series of our shows.
Yeah.
They edited it into like a 40-minute clip of us playing together. It really came out great.
That's awesome.
I'm really proud of it. A bunch of songs we did, including when we did Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. There's that breakdown in the middle of the song.
Yes.
Where there's kind of these percussion breaks, you know, and it was originally played on the back of a guitar by Stephen Stills.
Yes.
on the original recording, which I did on a djembe cajon, a wood djembe cajon. I played all the parts. But during rehearsals, when we were going through it and I had worked on it during rehearsals, David turned around and he went, "Hey, I don't even think Steven could do that now."
That's pretty
so
cool.
Little did he know.
That's funny.
Wow. So fun.
I like it.
So now you're, I mean, you people don't realize, I mean, we're looking, when we looked up his resume, I'm like, this thing just doesn't stop. It's like the best of the best on everything here. So now you move on, and now you're playing, you're the Peisty rep, and now you start writing for magazines like Modern Drummer.
That came, you know, because of my associations from Peisty. I got to know all the guys at the magazines, and then they ended up finding out that I write, and then they said, "Well, you know everybody. You want to start doing some interviews for us?" So I didn't do as much for Modern Drummer. I did, you know, about, I don't know, 7 or 8 articles for them. But then I did a lot for the magazine called Drumhead. I did something for Rhythm in UK and some for an Australian magazine. And so it was just kind of naturally fell into my lap because of my associations and knowing all these guys. And so, yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed doing it, you know, and enjoyed interviewing the guys. And this is pre-digital. This is like on a tape recorder and, you know, listening to my tape back and writing, you know.
Right.
Back when you brought that little tiny thing with a little tiny cassette in it, you know.
Yeah, or had a lav mic, and we either met at their studio or we met at a restaurant. And I've still got all those recordings of all those interviews.
Oh, wow.
I've kept all of those great recordings of interviewing all these people, which is kind of fun to, you know, have. And I actually have one where I interviewed Lou Reed because I did a feature for Modern Drummer on Tony Smith, who is Lou Reed's drummer. So they said, "Can you interview if we want to get Lou Reed's opinion on Tony?" So I ended up asking Tony, and he says, "Well, I'll try." And that was the weirdest interview I had ever done, because because Lou, you know, he's a man of very few words. So you guys know, as when you interview people, it can be very tricky. You don't know really what you're going to get.
Some people give you like 2 sentences and then they stop, and then some people just like go for 20 minutes. It's like, dude, okay, we get it.
No, we want the 20 minutes.
Well, that's so we don't have to ask him anymore.
Well, no, because well, you know, I mean, you start interviewing somebody and they're very tight-lipped, and you're going,
it's hard.
Do not ask a yes or no question.
Right.
Did you like playing with Joe Walsh? Yes.
Yes. No, elaborate.
Yeah.
I really liked working with him.
Right. I really.
I had to write out the questions beforehand, send them to his manager. They approved the questions. And then we scheduled a date for the interview. And then a week before the date, they called me on a Tuesday or whatever and said, "Lou's available right now. Can you do it?" And I was like, you know, I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but I didn't have my tape machine or whatever.
Right.
I said, "Can you give me 5 minutes?" And they called me back in 5 minutes, and I did it. And I did the questions like they had seen, and there was a few of them he just says, "I don't answer that." And this is after he had already approved it, you know. But I was on the phone with him for about 10 minutes. And when I got off the interview with him and I called Tony, I said, I just finished my interview with Lou. He goes, how long did you last? About a minute? And I said, no, it was about 10 minutes. He goes, you did good. You know, it's really surreal, man.
We've only run into that once.
Don't
that
say his
person
name.
will remain nameless.
Jesus
I promise.
Christ, I've already pissed him off enough in his lifetime.
And
he's a great guy.
Right. And I will tell you.
I'll tell you after we record.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will tell you that the laundry list of
things we couldn't say.
Things we couldn't. Well, no, how they wanted you to start. And, don't.
Oh, no. I know. I know who you're talking about. No, that guy's a dick. No. Yeah.
They wanted you to. They don't start with, well, don't take listeners on a.
Don't take them on a historic journey. We want you to only talk about what he's doing now. And I'm like, nobody cares what he's doing now.
Right, people only know him from.
Yeah, well, this guy they barely cared what he was doing back then.
I know.
That's why he even talked to us. I mean, it's like.
Oh, I know.
It's like, dude, really? You're gonna give me shit? No one's even heard from you since '85, and you're really gonna give me shit about the questions?
88,
whatever.
That's really tough.
And they send me this list of these are the questions we would like you to ask. I'm like, have you? Look, publicist, honey, do me a favor. Watch our show and immediately say no, because this shit is not the way we do it. You know, I mean, we've had conversations. Because believe it or not, this show, we are doing well with it, and we've had people call us about possibly syndicating overseas with it. And the first words out of their mouth is, because we go into parts of Asia, we need you guys to not swear. And I was like, well, that's never going to fucking happen.
Right. Sorry.
I mean, no. We don't change what we do. This is what we do, because this is why people like it, because it's as raw as it is.
Yeah.
Mike Sterto, hey, can I swear? I go, yeah. He goes, well, I hate to be the first one. I said, I'll break the ice. Oh, we come out of the intro. I'm like, hey, Jeff, welcome back. Guess what? What? Go fuck yourself. Boom. I was like, there you go, Mike. And he comes in and goes, hey,
Yeah.
That's just the show we do, So at least now in our day and age is a lot different than when you were doing it print form.
Mike and I tried to do it like we're sitting around a campfire.
Yeah.
And we're just swapping war stories, if you will. But there's people on the outside of that campfire that are going, man, I would really love to be involved in that conversation.
Yeah, I want to be a fly on the wall.
But they can't be.
Yeah. Right. So now you're a fly on the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's kind of the way we like,
Great.
And we're trying to bring the relationship to upstate New York, whether it's Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be.
No.
I mean, geez, Ross the Boss didn't have an affinity to upstate New York. He was out of New York City, but
our guest at the end of the month doesn't have any affiliation with upstate New York anyway, as far as
Joel.
Yeah, Joel Hoekstra, which he'll be on in a couple weeks here, and like you said, it doesn't have to be.
Well, his
Syracuse,
man crush is here, so
one of them. I bet there's more than you know.
He hates that I bring all the drummers on because that's what I love, and he's like, finally a guitar player. I was like, so you've met all these people. I'm going to reverse our order.
Okay, go
ahead. You meet all these people. What has been your biggest, outside maybe the ones you've even mentioned, that has been like, wow, I can't believe I'm playing with this artist, or I can't believe I'm in the presence even of this person.
Right.
Thank God for Peisty. Thank God for the Drum Magazine.
Well, believe me, I'm very, very thankful for how this whole path started with the industry gig. But I mean, I've mentioned a lot of them already with those guys. I've always, I would pinch myself when I'd be playing with Glenn or Joe and see the Eagles flight cases on the side of the stage. Of course, I'm pinching myself. And then Crosby was definitely there, one. And Michael McDonald was an absolute
from the Doobies,
incredible pleasure to play with. I played with him 2 or 3 times, but he was an incredible guy to be around. Just such a sweet person and genius musician. So I was definitely like, whoa, Michael McDonald. Tommy Shaw was great.
Oh wow,
played one gig with him.
Oh,
also great. Billy Idol was a trip. I did one show with Billy Idol, and I just did one show with him, but ended up having a drink with him afterwards, and that was very surreal. But he was just fun because he he really loved just being on stage. And
Yeah.
during rehearsals, he was a blast. And Steve Stevens was playing guitar.
Oh, good.
So it was Steve
Nice.
and Billy and then us in the band. And that was just a blast. But I have to go to one guy when you asked me that question,
Mm-hmm.
because I got a call from a friend of mine who's a drummer who's no longer with us right now, but great drummer named Brian Zupnik. I met him through Jeff Porcaro, and Brian was playing drums for Peter Cetera, Boz Scaggs, and a host of other players. He was a fantastic groove drummer. And he got a call to play on Jeff Bridges' first album. So he, talking to Jeff before they went and recorded, said, we need a percussionist for this album, and he recommended me. So that was probably one of those moments in my career where I was like in the studio with Jeff Bridges for 2 days, just me and him and his producer doing percussion overdubs.
Sure.
That was really kind of a mind fuck, because I'm such a huge fan of his work, and The Big Lebowski I must have seen 20 times. I own
God,
it.
yeah.
So
Dude.
first, he's a music fan, obviously, and he's a good musician. So that, I would say, out of all of these guys, and all of them have done that to me, but Jeff Bridges was really surreal, because it was like, and now I have to real quick tell you the story, what happened with him, because it was really a trip. So the day before I'm to go to his studio was in his beautiful, he bought Kenny Loggins' old house up in Santa Barbara Mountains. And so he had this beautiful home, and then he had a separate house that was his studio, beautiful studio. So that's where we were going to work. So the night before I'm to drive up there to do my 2 days of sessions with him, I'm at the Hollywood Bowl with this girl that I was seeing at the time. And we went to see, it was Paul Simon and Bob Dylan. And I was working with a lot of the guys in Paul Simon's band, so I had box seats. It was one of those nights. It was fantastic. And before the show started, I look at her and I go, "Do you like a drink?" She goes, "Yeah." So I go, get up, and I go to and have you guys ever been to the Hollywood Bowl?
I have not been to the Hollywood Bowl, no. But
it's huge, and then there's all these different food stands everywhere and drink stands, and so I just go to one of the stands, and I'm standing in line waiting to get our drinks, and standing there, and then there's this guy standing in front of me, out of all these people in this place, with this like Indian blanket around his shoulders, and I'm just seeing him from the back, and I'm not really whatever. And then all of a sudden he turns, I could see his profile. I went, holy fuck, it's Jeff Bridges. What are the chances of that?
Right.
With his right in front of me, like the day before I'm supposed to go meet him and play with him, and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm little town Syracuse boy, fucking freaking out, going, oh my God, do I say something?
Right. And this is before or after you
before I met him.
Oh my God.
It was like the day before I'm to the night before I was to drive up there.
Okay.
I just couldn't believe it. So I'm standing there, and I'm like, for a minute, I'm going, oh fuck, I gotta say something.
Right.
So I just tap on his shoulder and I said, excuse me, I'm sorry to bother you, Jeff. I'm Rich Mangicaro. And he goes, hey. He turns to his friend. He goes, this is the percussionist for tomorrow. And he goes, what are chances of this? I go, yeah, it's pretty strange.
Yeah, you fucking stalker. Yeah, right? I've been following you. Tell me he was drinking a White Russian, and I'm ending the show right now.
Yeah, no.
Come on,
but that was just so bizarre.
That's
it was
awesome.
so bizarre that happened.
Rich,
but yeah, anyway.
Did you bring him back to meet the girlfriend?
No.
Oh, no. You wow. Yeah, you would have got some serious points that night.
I know.
Well, that was listen, where we were sitting was crazy, because we were in box seats, and next to us was James Spader and Elizabeth Shue was sitting next to us, and
oh wow,
a bunch of it was in that area where the guests of the band are,
right?
So, there was plenty for her to look at. So but that was just too much, man. And then the next day when I got to his studio, we all laughed about it, and had really 2 great days. So that record is called Be Here Soon.
Okay.
And I play percussion on that, and it's a cool record. I mean, it was actually, we had a little badge of honor with Howard Stern reviewing it after it came out, just kind of making fun of it. And I was like, oh, that's very funny.
That's great, you freak.
Yeah. Hey now. Wait, sorry.
Yeah.
Wait.
Hey now. There
you
go. Rich, when you're working with a Jeff Bridges or a David Crosby, or Jackson Browne. Like the day before, like when you're traveling to these places, are you thinking in your head like, all right, don't be nervous. You know, this is what I'm here to do.
Yeah, I mean, well, these were all one-off shows that were all here in Los Angeles or in Santa Barbara, or in the area, you know. So it was just we weren't on tour together with these guys, but yeah, I'm here to do my job.
Yeah,
just get this done, and you know, we had rehearsals, we had long sound checks, you know.
Yeah,
make sure everything was there, and then by the time we went on stage, it was fine and seamless and great. And then we really had fun, you know.
It seems you got to rub the elbows a little bit more than some of the people that we know that with some of the bigger names that you just don't see that, you know, either Cher or you know, comes out and she's playing with you only see her 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after, then she's gone, you know, or whatever. I mean, Ben playing with Lionel Richie for as long as for 20 years. Obviously, after 20 years, you do develop a relationship. But he said in the beginning, you know, you
didn't see
talk
him.
to him,
and then when he played with Cher, he said he rarely saw her except for when it was like sound check or rehearsal. Afterwards.
Who was this?
Ben Morrow.
Ben Morrow is a guitar player from here.
Syracuse.
Yeah, from Syracuse.
Oh, he's from Syracuse.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his parents still live here.
Yep.
And when he played, if you see because I know we've communicated through Facebook. If you see my Facebook page, somebody posted a video of Jeff and I playing with Ben.
Yeah.
Here in a show he did, Ben Morrow and Friends, and I got up and sang a Journey song, and Jeff played guitar with Ben.
With Ben. Yep.
And somebody had posted it, and we got so many views and likes that they
4,800, I think.
Yeah, so they posted it again as one of the top 10 some top 10 videos off this guy's thing that he had been watching. So I reposted it. So
I'll check it out.
Give it a watch.
Yeah,
and if it was good, say if
it's good, say more about guys from Syracuse from you guys that I didn't even know were from Syracuse because I have been gone so long. I'm learning about. Oh, I didn't know he was from Syracuse.
Yeah, well, you know those guys we talked about earlier. You know, if you end up putting your stuff in over there, just
so all the guys
just send me one.
All the guys
we'll have it back here. I'll bring it when we play acoustically, and I'll play it all the time. I promise.
For example, though, like all the guys in Ben Morrow's band, Ben Morrow and Friends, they're all from Syracuse, but they all live everywhere except for
you got
Edgar,
Goose,
except for Edgar and Andy. Goose is from Nashville now.
Goose, and he played with he played with Mike McDonald.
No,
yes, I think he did. I'm telling you,
Creedence Clearwater Revival. John Fogerty. John Fogerty.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Yeah, he played for like 8 years. He played with
something like that. Yeah,
and he's from Syracuse, so living in Nashville.
I love hearing this.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah.
There's so many people. I mean, well, back when you went out, guys like Chris Goss from the Masters of Reality, he moved out that way. You know,
I didn't know Chris, but when Vinny was playing with them, actually, that's when I signed Vinny to Peisty Cymbals. Was when he was with Masters of Reality. Back then.
Such a good band. Such a good band.
Great band.
Dude, even to this day, we've mentioned it.
We have.
Anybody that's from here in that time
and even
knows the band.
Him? Yeah.
And you could still listen to that album, their first album. You can listen to it tomorrow, and it doesn't sound dated.
No.
And it's just
not at all.
No. In fact, you should tell them the story about Just Joe. And that they were on tour over in like Europe or something, or Germany.
Oh yeah, he's walking by somebody's room,
hotel room, and he can hear this guy jamming out to Masters of Reality. So Joe walks in the room and he goes,
"What are you listening to?
What are you listening to?" And the guy goes, "Masters of Reality. You ever heard him?" Joe's like,
"I'm from Syracuse."
Yeah, I'm from Syracuse. And they ended up spending the entire rest of the day together, just talking about Syracuse and Masters of Reality.
But the funny thing is, Joe never got to see the Masters live because he was too young.
Yep.
But I got to see him live, and
because you're old,
you suck.
I never got to see them.
Oh, dude,
just brilliant. 805 all the time, but
805
all the time,
and we got to let the people know, that have listened to the show, been on the show, that Rich listened to that show. He just listened to Jeff Gordon's show, and heard a whole bunch of familiar names in the background there. So, so Jeff Gordon, if you're listening, see, somebody is famous as Rich
is listening to us, and
that's right.
Gathered all this information.
That's right. You're not going anywhere with it, but
right.
You listen to this.
But just so you know,
and what the wonderful part is the number of people that you knew or still know and still hang out with. That's got to help you with. I mean, you've got your own podcast, the Gone Bop, live on YouTube, and then you've got the Percussion Loft on the
and both of those things are more focused on artists within the Gone Bop's roster. So it's not like I get to branch out and interview anybody, but it's a promotional tool for Gone Bops, and so we have a bunch of great people on there, but it's all people that within that family.
And for those people who don't know what a Gone Bop is, give us a little 30-second elevator pitch.
It's the oldest percussion brand in the United States. They've been around since the 50s, since 1954. They were the congas on stage at Woodstock with Santana.
Oh wow!
So they're like the oldest brand that's from the U.S. And then they kind of went away for a while, and then were resurrected about 20 years ago by DW. Kind of resurrected the brand and then brought it back. And then about 12 years ago, they sold it to Sabian. Now Sabian owns the brand, and that's who I work with on the Gone Bops side of things for them.
Cool.
But it's a custom percussion company. They don't do anywhere near the breadth of selection of instruments that like LP would, as far as how many types of instruments. But you can see this is all Gone Bop stuff behind me, and it's basically Afro-Cuban drumming stuff and a djembe, and there's a couple of Brazilian instruments. Very nice instruments, very high quality.
So we mentioned Ben Morrow, and Ben's out in Vegas right now. And like you said, he's played with some great names for a lot of years. His wife is a percussionist.
Yes.
And
Marilyn.
I forget what Marilyn plays on stage, but she plays two beautiful congas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not sure.
Is he like Vegas?
Oh, he loves it.
Loves it.
Yeah. But he comes back to Syracuse on a regular now.
Yeah.
And he tells us the first stop he does when he gets here. Now, you being a nice Irish boy, Mangicaro, first stop he makes is Columbus Bakery.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I miss Columbus Bakery, man. I miss that place.
Well, if you watch
that smell.
If you watch the Ben Morrow episode, he will tell you how to reheat it.
We will tell you how, because I told him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he did.
No, he wraps it in aluminum foil.
And with a tiny bit of water.
My family dipped the whole loaf with the bag in the water, and then put it in the oven, because I used to ship it out to Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you want us to ship you
some
out to California, pal?
You can bring you.
I can't say no. You know what? Every time I go home, first thing I do, Columbus Bakery and Hyde's Hot Dogs.
There you go.
I go to those two
Hyde's
places.
Hot Dogs.
That's right.
And I don't eat that much red meat anymore, but I'll eat a Hyde's hot dog.
Well, there's not much red meat in there either. We don't know what's in there.
You don't even know what's in it.
I don't know what's in it. That's why,
How often do you come back, Rich?
Not often enough. The last time I was there was 2015. It was for my 40th high school reunion.
Oh, okay.
So that was the last time I was home. And I've got a bunch of good friends there still that I've known since I was a kid. But I miss it. You guys will know next time I come home, because I'd love to come in and hook up with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be
grab
great.
a drink. But it's been a while, and I miss it. It's home for me,
Yeah.
But my parents are gone, and my sisters are moved away, and John Mangicaro, my cousin, who's the drummer, is one of the few relatives I have left there.
Oh, okay.
And his family. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get John on now, because we mentioned him twice. I'm writing it down to remind myself to have him on the show. We're like, well, you're not as famous as your relative, but come on.
However,
you get me in trouble.
Wow. Dick.
Go ahead.
With what?
You're gonna ask a question.
Oh, that one.
Can you ask a question other than what's it like?
Sorry.
What's it like taking a shit at a 7-Eleven? No.
It's horrible. You ever tried it?
man.
That's the question. No, I don't. You know me. I got stage
Especially in the
fright.
winter.
I got stage
I
fright.
got stage fright. I won't go into California. I won't.
I bet
It'll be 4 days.
You're
I'll
gonna
come
have
home.
to.
Nope.
Don't even start.
Dude, I did 10 days in Orlando. Made it till I got home. Sorry. We digress.
Longest bathroom break ever.
Oh, terrible.
Anyhow,
My mother's listening to the show.
Out of-
going, Michael, why? Why do you do those? Why do you
Yeah.
say those
Mom.
things?
why do you? Or why do you? Out of every place, or out of all the musicians you've played with and whatnot, you had to have had a blooper or two happen to you that maybe nobody knew, but you did, or everybody knew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So give us
Do you
a
have
story.
one or two?
You know you got one.
I got to think of it for a minute. As far as the famous artists that I've worked with, I got to think about that for a second. But I did have a fun one at a club in Syracuse that was. It used to be on East Genesee Street, and it was like what was that club on East Genesee Street?
Tipperdew. Tipperdew
it?
Tavern?
No, it was a rock club a long time ago.
On Genesee Street.
There's like a.
Is it out in Camillus or?
No, in DeWitt, going from like Thompson Road.
Well, you had the Lost Horizon. You had the Paradise.
Lost
next door.
Horizon.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Lost Horizon, that one. I was playing there, and I don't remember the name of the band actually, but wasn't that the one with the real high stage?
With a pole in the center?
Pole right in the center of it.
Yeah, and there was a high stage with a drop off on the back where the drums were.
No.
No.
Oh, then what was that club? That was another club there.
Back in the 80s?
Yeah, it was in the. No, it could have been late 70s. Anyway, it was a club in Syracuse on East Genesee Street, and it had a really high stage, dropped off on the back. So when you're on your kick, if you go back too far, you're going over it.
Right.
And I was the lead singer in the band as well. At one point during the show, I stood up to do some stupid thing, and the stool went first.
Over
I knew right where you were going
and
with
I
this.
went next. Yeah. So that was no fun. That hurt.
That's great.
Did you have to jump up and be like,
Yeah.
I'm okay?
I'm all right.
Yeah, I kind of like scooted around to the side because I had to go all the way around to the stairs to get back up.
Oh, jeez.
Stupid. Oh my God.
That's
it
going
was
to
so
drive
stupid.
me nuts trying to figure
I
out
know.
what club that was.
Right.
Oh, I can't remember now. It almost looked like I don't remember it was like an A-frame or something.
I think it's what. Oh, well, it used to be Suburban Park,
That's it.
and it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
Before it was called Suburban Park, it was called something else. Because I saw Wings there. And I
Yes.
met Joe English
yes,
there.
yes, it was
What was the name of that place?
Oh, don't make me look.
not the Silver Bullet.
No.
Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly. Later became Silver Bullet, or it became Suburban Park,
Suburban
then Country
Park.
Club.
Yes.
That's it.
Before that was USA Sam's, or Uncle
That's it.
Sam's.
Uncle Sam's.
That's it. I was trying to think of the name
Yes.
of the place that it was near.
Right.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam's.
Chris Stockwell's family had that, and
Yep.
they also owned Club 37 in North Syracuse.
And
they
now
owned,
it's an empty parking lot.
yeah, they just leveled it.
They leveled the country club. Well, Uncle Sam's, Suburban Park.
Yeah, they
Whoever wants to know what it really was. And now it's going to be a Chick-fil-A drive-through.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could say you played at a Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I used to play this huge club. Now it's now Chick-fil-A. Yeah.
Yep.
They're a lot smaller.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you fell off the stage. Well, we've all done
We've
that.
all done that.
Shit, Fuco's
I'm sure.
Hideaway on North Salina Street used to have to put the drum kit on the pool table, and that's all you got.
Oh my
And then
God,
you
that's so funny.
had milk crates balancing to be able to put your throne on,
Oh my God.
and it was the
I couldn't imagine.
worst.
No, I could not imagine that.
And to think that Nick Fuco is now running the Rainbow Room,
I know.
and in L.A., and his family had the Fucos. Yeah. I had to have a letter from my parents giving me permission to play that place because I was underage, and the owner, she's like watching
Nah.
you like a hawk,
Kid, you're not supposed to be in here.
I remember I almost fell off the stage, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "Don't use that language in my fucking bar." And I was like, "Wait a minute, you did."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you did. Yeah. So
Oh,
when you go to that music store again and you see Joey Fuco or Nick Fuco, sorry,
No, you'll see Joey.
that's true too.
Joe
yeah.
Fuco with Joe Bertali.
Yeah.
DPS, you mean?
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah, definitely met.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah,
gotta
late
get up there
late
now.
70s, early 80s. Band was called Mayhem.
Mayhem.
They had an album out called Ripped to Shreds, and they, they went on to Joey ended up moving out to California in about 86 with Joe Bertali was a singer, and they were living out there. And Joe Bertali and John Van Well, John Van Well was the singer.
Yeah.
And Joe Bertali, Joe Fuco, and Mark Van Martyr was another guitar player.
Yeah.
I don't remember the bass player.
I can't.
Whatever. But yeah, they moved out there, and
Who
they've been
remembers
there
bass
since.
players?
Nobody.
Right.
Yeah. Let's tell Billy Sheehan that,
Okay.
dick.
Yeah, right.
One of the best bass players
Okay.
around. Who remembers bass player? Everybody.
Everybody knows him.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
So, anyways, well, Rich, I just got to tell you, we could do another hour show with you talking about any one of the onion petals that we've peeled back.
I know.
Today. And we hope we are privileged to be able to do that. And
Thank you.
you know, we're going to do our little sign off here and everything, but stick
Yep.
around because
Yep.
I want to get some information from you.
We want to
'Cause, you
figure
know-
out where to send the bread.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
send the bread. We're going to send you
A case of
the
hot-
good, the band, and no, I'm not sending hot dogs, man.
Case of hides.
I'm not sending those.
That's so funny.
Those will
I
be
know.
bad by the time they get there.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, no
Trust me,
kidding.
the last two things I've sent someplace, I thought it was going to take
that's
3
right.
days, and it took
3
weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And had I sent something perishable, that would have sucked.
Yeah, it would have.
Yeah.
For
So-
sure.
So
No, we want to send you a good The Band the Ugly t-shirt.
yeah, because you're part of the family now.
Yes.
You know?
Thank you, guys.
And you know
Thank
how
you so much
Italians
for-
are about the family.
Hell yeah.
All right, so
I do. I work for him.
you do.
Did you guys see Ray Romano's movie Somewhere in Queens yet?
I have not.
No.
I
Gotta
have
see it. You're gonna so relate to it. It's his new movie he directed, produced, and acted in, and
Okay.
it's right up our alley. It's our upbringing.
Oh.
It's so great, you guys.
All right, I'm going to
Awesome.
hit you with one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Uncle Louie variety show?
No.
Okay, so
Oh, you
Uncle
should.
Louie does the Italian word of the day, and he's got this character that he plays as basically based around his father, who grew up on the north side of Syracuse.
Yep.
That takes an English word and butchers the shit out of it, and his Italian version of it. Watch that. Watch
Okay.
any of their videos. They've got over 500,000 followers.
Okay.
They've been
Great.
to the West Coast and back, both on the U.S. side and Canada. They've been to Australia, but they're a good friend of the show's. Uncle Louie, his last name's Greco, so they're from Louis Greco.
Okay.
But you want to laugh about some holy shit.
Yeah.
The stories
Okay.
he tells you is like he got yelled at when he was in schools. He goes, "Teacher, I'm going to hit you with a ruler. Ruler. I got hit with a fucking shovel earlier. What are you talking about? Because I didn't take out the trash, you know." So
Right.
trust me. Yeah, we
Okay.
Yeah.
Uncle Louie variety show, and we're
Sounds great.
happy to plug that one on
Yeah.
the show here. So
Right on.
yeah, so stick around. We're gonna sign out
We're gonna
here,
sign
and we'll
out
be
here.
right back to you. But
Yeah.
don't go anywhere.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yo, thank you.
No problem, man. Thank you very much.
So I'm just rolling music because
Yeah,
I
go
have
for it,
nothing
man.
really to say to you.
Oh, yeah?
No,
Okay.
hang on. We're doing the long one.
Doing a long one?
Yeah.
Oh, the long one.
You've been listening to the good,
The Band.
the ugly. I'm Big Papa,
And I'm Jeff.
and we all had the pleasure of listening to Rich Mangicaro today. Or Mangicaro. I mean, what
Yeah.
part of Italy you're from?
And don't forget, this weekend,
Go for it.
Mother Cover and Average Joe's Friday night, and the debut of Ridley Page AM
Yeah.
Gold
AM Gold.
at
Ooh.
the Turning Stone Casino at the Turquoise
Turquoise Tiger.
Tiger.
Yeah, AM Gold. That's going to be good. Yacht Rock.
Yeah, Yacht Rock at its finest.
Yeah.
Don't miss it.
Yeah, don't miss it. And tell us how it was because we'll probably miss it. Sorry, bud.
Love you, Tim.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you so
As
much,
always,
everybody.
Hawk Medical Supply, Sharky's Events Center,
DJ Life's a Beach, Good Nature Brewery,
Toffee Break Toffee, The Print Shop Underground, and Uncle Jimmy's Local Live Music.
and Snarky Productions, my favorite.
Who's Snarky Productions, Jeff?
We'll find out one of these days. I promise.
Oh. Guys, thanks so much for being part of the show. And 2024, the new edition.
Yeah, here we are.
We've got great stuff coming up this year, and God bless y'all. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
Recording stopped.